This is the news on Honor 103.5 FM. Honor FM News. Accurate, transparent, undiluted. We go there. We bring you the news behind the news. Honor FM News. If it's new, then it's news.
Good afternoon, welcome to the World News at noon on Honor 103.5 FM. In the news this afternoon, Nigerian Center for Disease Control reports Lassa fever outbreak in 7 states. Also in the news, PDP crisis deepens as former governorship candidate Jandor resigns. On the African news, Gabon's military leader to run for president. While on the foreign, Canada imposes tariff on U.S. goods in trade dispute. And on the business report, NNPC reduces palm price to 860 naira per litre. And on the sport news this afternoon, Super Eagles squad for World Cup qualifiers to be unveiled today. Welcome once again to the news. I am Timi Tokwedada. Now the news in detail. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control has reported Lassa fever outbreak in 7 states. These has reported 38 confirmed cases and 9 deaths from Lassa fever across 7 states in the country. According to the NCDC's latest surveillance report, the affected states include Bauchi, Ondo, Taraba, Edo, Plateau, Cross River, and Kogi. The NCDC noted that the number of confirmed cases decreased from 54 to 38. However, the case fatality rate remains high at 19.7%, exceeding the rate for the same period in 2024. The majority of confirmed cases, 73%, were reported from Ondo, Edo, and Bauchi, with Ondo accounting for 34% of the total cases. The NCDC has activated its incident management system to coordinate response activities and deployed national rapid response teams to support control and management efforts. Also in the news this afternoon, northern states have decided to stand by the closure of schools despite the decision of the Christian Association of Nigeria. Kebbi, Bauchi, and Kano state governments have reaffirmed their decision to grant a holiday to primary and secondary schools for the Ramadan fast despite concerns raised. According to Ahmed Idris, Chief Press Secretary to the Kebbi State Governor, the decision was made after consulting all relevant stakeholders, including religious leaders and parents. Similarly, the Kano State Director of Public Enlightenment, Kiru, stated that the decision to close schools was taken after a meeting with all relevant stakeholders, including the Christian Association of Nigeria. The Christian Association of Nigeria has criticized the school closures, expressing concern over the potential impact on students preparing for critical examinations. However, the state governments maintain that the decision was made in consultation with all stakeholders and will not be reconsidered. Still on the national news, Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran, popularly known as Jandor, has resigned from the People's Democratic Party, citing persistent anti-party activities and internal sabotage. Jandor, the party's governorship candidate for Lagos State in the 2023 election, expressed disappointment and frustration with the party's leadership, stating they failed to uphold democratic principles and good governance. Jandor accused party leaders, including State Chairman Philip and Olabode George, of working against him, citing attacks on his campaign and condemnation from party leaders. He condemned the party's decision to appoint George as vice chairman of a disciplinary committee, despite his alleged anti-party activities. Jandor made the decision to resign after consulting with family, associates, and supporters. He reiterated his commitment to Lagos State, vowing to continue advocating for policies that will uplift the state. And moving on to the African news, Gabon's military leader General Brice Nuema has assigned his intention to run for president in the next month's election. This move comes after Nuema seized power in a coup in 2023, ended the long-standing rule of the Bongo family. Initially, he pled to hand over power to civilians, but the country has since passed a new constitution and electoral code that critics argue favor his presidential bid. Nuema's decision to run in the April 12 election was reportedly made after careful reflection and in response to many appeals from the Gabonese people. However, his candidacy has raised concerns among critics who see the new constitution and electoral code as designed to secure his victory. On the foreign scene this afternoon, Canada has announced retaliatory measures against the U.S. in response to new tariffs introduced by the Donald Trump administration. The countermeasures set to take effect at 12 a.m. on Tuesday include tariffs on U.S. goods mirroring the 25% tariff imposed by the U.S. on Canadian and Mexican imports, as well as a 10% tariff on Chinese goods. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau criticized the U.S. tariff, stating that there is no justification for these actions. Trudeau argued that the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. doesn't warrant tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. The retaliatory measures mark a significant development in the trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada. The tariffs are expected to have a substantial impact on both economies, with potential consequences for businesses, consumers, and on the overall trade relationship between the two nations. Still on the foreign scene, coming from Japan, Japan's government has secured lower house approval for its record 2025 budget worth 115.2 trillion yen, or approximately $771 billion. This development comes after Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's minority coalition was forced to present revised plans for the first time in nearly 30 years. The Liberal Democratic Party, led by him, has governed Japan almost continuously since 1955. However, after the party's worst election result in 15 years in October, Ishiba has had to rely on opposition support to pass legislation. Initially, the LDP sought support from the Democratic Party for the People, but ultimately secured approval from the Japan Innovation Party after offering free high school education. And on the business scene this afternoon, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has reduced the pump price of petrol at its stations to match the price of the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. The new price of 860 naira per litre was confirmed by the National Vice President of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Ahmed Fashola. This development comes after the Dangote refinery reduced its ex-depot petrol price from 890 to 825 naira per litre. The price reduction has been observed in some NNPC retail outlets in Lagos. However, the NNPC spokesperson Olufemi Shunaya has not commented on the development. And finally, on the sport news this afternoon, the wait is almost over for Nigerian football fans as coach Eric Chelle is expected to announce his squad for the upcoming FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifiers today. The Super Eagles will face Rwanda on March 21 and Zimbabwe on March 25 in must-win encounters after a disappointing start to their qualifying campaign. With just 3 points from 4 matches, Nigeria currently sits in 5th place in Group C. Coach Chelle, who was appointed in late January, has been working tirelessly to assemble a strong squad. He has traveled extensively both locally and in Europe to identify the best players for the task ahead. Football fans are eagerly anticipating the announcement, which is expected to reveal Chelle's 4 sets of players. The Super Eagles' upcoming matches against Rwanda and Zimbabwe will be crucial in determining their chances of qualifying for the 2026 World Cup. And that'll be all for now on the World News at noon on Honor 103.5 FM. Before we go, here is a recap of the major stories. On the national news this afternoon, we informed you that the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has reported Lassa fever outbreak in 7 states. And on the African news, Gabon's military leader Nuema is set to run for president. On the foreign scene, Canada has imposed tariffs on U.S. goods in trade dispute. One in business, NNPCL has reduced petroleum price to 860 naira per litre. And finally, in sport news, Super Eagles squad for World Cup qualifiers is set to be unveiled today. For Eyewitness Report, news mentions and news commercials, contact the Honor FM newsroom at 0915-103-5555 or 0704-800-1035. You can also check out our website at www.honorfm1035.net for more information.